clean energy is the best way to go. I think it's necessary if we want a future in which like that's more environmentally green and healthy. And I think clean energy is one of the major ways to do that. What's missing is the prioritization of like clean energy and climate change because I think because it's such a long lasting problem and like the effects are allegedly going to occur in a while, the urgency of the problem is lost, especially for older voters. Like this isn't a problem we have to deal with right now. So then like the change just doesn't happen. And I think a lot needs to happen really quick. Otherwise, it's gonna suck. Sorry.
Yeah. You're good.
Yeah. Does Westchester East High School do anything to help fight climate change besides cleaner energy? Like, for example, compost or like a community garden or anything like that students can get involved in?
So East and our middle school Fugit are a joint building, and I know Fugit has a community garden that the students help with and the faculty help with, and a lot of that food is donated to community organizations as well as used in our food science classes. So we have all of the paper recycling units in every single room, and then in our lunch rooms there is you can recycle those like water bottles. But honestly, education about recycling and what you can recycle and what you can't is sparse. I think it's not very out there. So I think change does need to happen on the recycling front. For some bathrooms, we do have the motion detectors. I'm gonna say we don't have them for the classrooms, and I'm not really sure what else it does on the energy efficiency front, or if they use LED bulbs or anything like that.
Do you and your family use any sources of clean energy?
Yes, all of our light bulbs are LED, and we don't use our heating and cooling to its maximum extent. So we'll keep it. We'll be fine with wearing a few sweaters over increasing our heat a little bit. I think we all need to take a vested effort in fighting climate change and pushing for clean energy because ultimately it decides our futures.
What do you already know about clean energy?
I know that it's come down a lot in price in the past several decades, and it's become a real viable competitor to fossil fuels in the marketplace. And it's still dealing with certain regulatory hurdles put up by, an industry that wasn't really set up to accommodate clean energy in the way it was traditional energy sources. And so we need to find a way to align the interests of utilities and regulatory boards to allow renewable energies to flourish. It's an obvious benefit in terms of reducing our carbon emissions and also our health costs. The Tri-State Energy Co-op in Colorado Rocky Mountain area is supplying 70% of its energy is renewable energy, and they're doing it cheaply and more cheaply than their alternative fossil fuel sources. So this is a viable path from a cost perspective too.
Right.
In terms of health, the National Academy of Sciences in 2019 put out a report saying that the United States spends $886 billion in costs for people getting treated for air pollution in general, much of which is fossil fuels.
Right.
So, if we could save that by moving to renewable energy, that'd be amazing. And
right.
100,000 people. Sorry, I'm just spewing statistics. But
You're good.
100,000 people every year in this country die from air pollution. That's the same number of people as die in car crashes in this country every year.
What steps has your workplace taken to enable clean energy and energy efficiency?
Well, none, because it's really not a focus because we're not incentivized to care about it. We've got an old building. We've got we're a manufacturing facility, so we have to recycle the air a lot because there's a lot of blowers and fans which filter dust. Without some financial incentive, I don't see how our company would try to reduce its energy consumption. It would just take a little bit of effort, make the building. There's nothing in our building that needs to stay cold on Saturday and Sunday. just need a timer. And like these smart thermostats already exist. And there are people trying to get programs to deploy smart thermostats to every house, every industrial facility that they can, get to sign on to the program. And we just need support for those programs. Energy efficiency is in itself also a really important piece.
Did the college where you went do anything to fight climate change besides cleaner energy? Like, do they
Yeah,
compose?
they had a community garden. Um, there was a windmill which they built when I was there in 2010. It was great. Like kids got to learn how to build a windmill. That's awesome. I technically live in an apartment building where we have a flat fee of $50 every month for the energy that we use. We're on the second floor. We're sandwiched in between the first and the third floors, and so we only have one outside wall, and we really don't use very much energy. Um, but it's a flat fee across all floors of the building, and we just don't never think about it because there's no reason to think about reducing your energy unless there's a price difference. And I understand it's very difficult for an apartment complex of 300 units to actually incentivize people to reduce their footprint. But this is where policy could come in. The house that my parents live in, which I'm currently living in right now because of the coronavirus pandemic, they do all kinds of things to reduce the energy usage. They have a whole house fan, which they use instead of air conditioning most of the time, just to pull all the air through when it becomes night and the air outside's cooler. They've installed a couple heat pumps. They do a lot of passive heating and cooling with like drawing shades, which are insulated or double air shades. Heating up the house in the wintertime by pulling those shades back and letting the sunlight heat the room. They've improved the insulation, and they also grow a ton of food.
I am in the Accelerated Master's Program of Community Nutrition at the university, Westchester University. I'm an aspiring registered dietitian. I am a chef for a local brand new catering company. And I am an activist with the Westchester Green Team. I work for Westchester University on an intern basis as like a garden programs coordinator for them. I think clean means fair. So from my perspective, clean energy is local and promotes local communities, and we're using everything that we have in a sustainable fashion to reduce the need for excess energy. I believe that it will actually stimulate the economy and not only put money back into people's pockets, but it will realign our values. So I think by switching to clean energy, we're doing just good overall. Focusing on better business prospects. I feel like that's kind of my angle too with clean energy. It's an incredibly opportunistic field, something that could reform the economy. I think that evens the playing field and eliminates bipartisan views. And I think that we need to deliver the message in the most unified way.
That's right. It's absolutely must be a nonpartisan thing.
I don't overuse lights. I would live very simply, windows open. I don't use air conditioning in my car. But I live with another person who leaves all the lights on and, runs the water. So I'm always the person, this is the real true dynamic, because I'm the person turning off the lights.
A lot of
I don't know if that answers your question.
Oh, no, it is a really interesting dynamic. Like I know, living in residence halls and stuff, like I would see people who just constantly leave the lights on, constantly leave the water running, and they're just like, oh, well, I'm not paying for it. But first of all, you are, and second of all, it's more than just not seeing a physical electricity bill. But
yeah, by spreading that message that we're all paying for that, that's a really strong message. Students for Sustainable Action works in tangent with the Sustainability Committee of the university. We're trying to get a food digester for one of the dining halls or cafes anybody interested affiliated with the university can sit on our committee, which we work on sustainable purchasing and looking at distributors. And we work directly with Cisco, it's our food distributor, to try to sway ideas and try to move it in that direction, although it is very hard when it's commercial products for food. I'm glad that you brought up food recovery. Yes, we do have several fridges on campus in various locations that are just like kind of ubiquitous or like easily accessible to everyone. And they can put in things like from the cafes that are about to turn. We get food from Wegmans. We put blasts out on social media, but I don't communicating this information, especially with COVID. I think there's going to be greater opportunities for food recovery. For instance, I work with a very brand new catering company, and we have leftover food, and we're struggling with this idea of like, how do we get consistent people to donate our leftovers to? I would love to see like an 8x4 raised bed in every family of 4, so because that's how you get the word out. That's how you have you seen their garden over there? Like, or they had extra strawberries they didn't need, so we gave them to our neighbor. I'd really love to see more of that.
So I'm a student right now in high school, and most of what I know about clean energy has been through classes that they've offered in the past. In middle school, I was lucky enough to have a class that taught me about like the main types of renewable energy sources and where they were used across the country. And then as time went on in like self-research projects that I've been able to do in English class or something, I've emphasized trying to like figure out what types of energy work best in certain areas and like what might be best for Pennsylvania and stuff like that. So a lot of what I know about it comes from education from my school as well as self-study. In Pennsylvania, for example, most of the energy that we use comes from coal or natural gas. So it's not really, we're not really a state that uses many renewable alternatives at this point. And so I think that that's also what kind of drives me to keep researching this stuff, because we haven't really made that many big steps. Even though we've committed to making big steps, it hasn't really happened yet. I went to like nature camp, and I really developed like a love for nature, which I think is really important, because that's the reason why I care about this stuff so much. Because clean renewable energy is safe for the environment and doesn't contribute to overarching factors like global warming, it's really important that we use these kind of things in order to keep our environment safe. Also because it's renewable and we will never run out. Personally, I'm kind of unsure about where my school receives its power. I haven't had the chance to like email or ask, but I'm sure if I did, they could supply, like, it's not like they're just like oblivious to what's going on, you know what I mean? Like, I think that they do care. However, I'm not really sure where they get their energy. They are very well aware of this entire climate crisis, and they help educate their students about that. So as far as enabling clean energy, I'm not really sure how much they're doing like actively, but as in teaching their students, I think that they have a good basis of starting an affinity for this kind of stuff. There's not really much gardening or like foliage like outside school. It's kind of just like in that secluded area they have stuff. I mean, there's stuff, but it's not like they made an effort, you know what I mean? Not in a bad way. It's just not their priority. So, I live in a pretty big house. I have 3 younger siblings, and so we're always using energy, which is very unfortunate. But because there's so many people, I feel like it kind of opens my eyes to like how much we really use. So in that kind of environment, I try to like keep the lights off when I'm not using them, or make sure all the TVs are off, you know, keep like that kind of stuff under control, because I have like there's young kids living in the house, so it's hard for them to like, you know, be able to comprehend that maybe I shouldn't keep this light on, or you know. But as far as using renewables, I've talked to my family, and like we've discussed getting solar panels. I'm not really sure logistically if that would happen anytime soon, but it's something we're interested in, so I'm excited to get that. But as far as conservation, it's mostly just like habits of trying not to waste energy. I think that it's important that in local government specifically, that people in power are working with people like nonprofit organizations like this who are trying to advocate for this stuff. Personally, I think that it starts locally. And if we as a community start to take steps towards supporting people who are for alternative energy sources or renewable energy sources, then we can start seeing a change in the ways that our money is going to. I really emphasize exposing kids to these kind of things to create this kind of lifelong love for nature and the environment. And if you have that, it translates to wanting to protect it. So I think that caring about clean energy comes with caring about the environment. So it's important that we all care about the environment.